They used to, they used to start indoors. The weeks to seed for germination, temperatures, number of days it'll germinate, how deep to plant them. It's got a little bit of everything. Another good way to tell is look at your seed packets on that. There is a lot of information on the seed packet. This one right here says, the biggest thing is it says 65 days from transplant. Okay, transplant means the day you put it in the garden on that. So you can back up, and actually we have, they have it. Ooh, you get to see this like real, or is it crooked? This little guide is really good, and this is the sheet we use the most. And what it does is it tells you the plant, and then it'll tell you when to plant it and when to expect to harvest it. And so you can look at that. This was cauliflower. So I look up cauliflower, and it says I can harvest it the middle, plant it the middle of March to the middle of April and expect to harvest it around the 1st to middle of June. So then you just back up from then, from the middle of June, back up 65 days. And that's when I should set it out in the garden. And it's going to take me a couple, 3 weeks to get it up and going. So there's my date on that. You can start a little early, because then, okay, if I screwed something up, I still have a little bit of chance to do it again. Or, hey, I'm going to, especially on the cool season stuff, you can sometimes get by with doing it a little bit early on that. You can't always on your warm season stuff. You know, if it's 30 degrees, your tomato's not going to like it. But if it's 30 degrees, you could do that with your cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli. So you can kind of do your math yourself as far as when to start on that. Do a little bit more than you need, because then if you screw up, you got some. If you have extra and it all works out, great. Give them to the neighbors. They'll think, wow, you really know what you're doing. So that's kind of when. Okay. Then what are you gonna put them in on that? Okay. Seeds can vary tremendously in size, but some of them are very, very small. And if you use, like they do have a regular seeding mix for starting seeds. And it's pretty easy because it says seed and cutting on that. And if you look at it closely, this is kind of a bag of it. I don't know if you can tell, but it's really, really fine. It's been, basically they grind it up a couple times compared to your regular potting soil. And this is kind of your regular potting soil. And you see the white dots, see how big they are? See how little the white dots are in that? So they just processed it a lot finer so that it doesn't bury those seeds. It also holds the water fairly well. So you can do it with regular soil, but some of those seeds are super, super small. This isn't the smallest seed we have, but what I did is, as an example, here's some basil seeds, and you can see how small they are. And there's actually seeds that are smaller than that. And then here's your sunflower seeds, which those are pretty easy. You can do those in regular soil on that. And also read your label too of your seed, because on the sunflowers, it's going to say plant it in the ground. This one on carrots, it says start seeds outdoors. So it tells you that you don't even have to start them inside. You can start them directly sow them into the garden on that. What you put them in is personal preference, okay? Now, depending upon how many you're going to do, you can do peat pellets. And these are kind of nice because you just plant them pot and all when you're done. It's made out of peat moss. The little thing that keep in mind, when you plant these, the soil will be part way up. Make sure that you break the lip off. You don't want any of this sticking up in the ground when you're done, because it'll wick moisture away from the plant. So make sure you bury the whole thing or break off the edge on that. There's also some, these are Jiffy 7s is what we call them. They're little pellets that you put in water and they swell up on that. These are kind of neat. The thing I don't like about them is they're not very big on that. So you have to either get them in a bigger pot or get them in the ground fairly quickly on that. But that's something you can do, the traditional, like you buy them in the garden center, you know, the trays and the cell packs. You could do egg cartons. Don't do egg cartons, they're too small. But you can do Dixie cups, you can do paper cups, you can do whatever you have on that. So the container can be about anything. You want it to drain so that the soil drops, will drain well, it doesn't rot. With something like the trays, you can put, they make domes that you can put on top of it. It's a lid, let's say, that's clear, so it acts like a greenhouse. You water it once, the water rises and then it condensates and comes down, and you really don't have to water it again. You don't want to leave that on all the time, because that's an environment of high humidity, high temperature. You can end up with disease on that. So you want it until it gets started. You can do that. That'll help hold the heat in, but you don't want to leave it on all the time, because it'll end up could end up rotting the plant on that. When you one of the big things for getting the seeds to start is warmth on that. And you think, well, I'll turn the heat up to 70. I'll go, the house is warm, I put it on 70. You know, some of these soil temperatures, and I don't know if this has soil temperature on it. Yeah, optimum soil temperature for growth. And actually, excuse me, they list a day and a night. So you got some that are 60 to 70. You got some that are 70 to 75 on that. And that's a soil temperature, which there's different ways to do it depending upon what you have at home. You can take the plants don't need light until they start to germinate. So you could take the tray and put it on top of the hot water heater, put it on top of the refrigerator, somewhere where it's a little bit warmer on that. They do make heat mats that what you do is you put this down and you plug it in, and it will warm up just it's made to fit exactly over the tray on that. So it warms it up. Now, it'll warm it up about 10 degrees warmer than the air temperature of the house, but that's 10 degrees warmer. You can get, you know, if you really get into it, you can get timers that'll crank it up and put it on a higher temperature, but that's one way to speed it up on that. Sometimes it really doesn't make that much difference. It's just going to take it a little bit longer to germinate. So that's one way to kind of cheat as far as that goes. Once it starts to come up, it doesn't have to be as warm on that. And once it starts to come up, you want to get it light on that. And light is probably better, more light than your average windowsill on that. Some people will put plant lights down. If you put plant lights down, you want them very close to the plant on that, almost touching the plant. A plant light, a true plant light, doesn't give off heat. So you can have it really, really close and it's no big deal. And the closer you have it, the less, they call it leakage. The less water that goes out to the side, the plant doesn't get it. So you want to put it relatively close. If you're going to use fluorescent lights, that's okay, but they get hot. So make sure you don't burn the plant on that. Move it up a little bit on that. But that's how you can, you know, I have people that grow all their seeds in the basement, and then they, you know, there's no light in the basement. They just hook it up, rig it up to a timer so that you don't have to turn it on and off. Most of your plant lights, if you're doing them indoors, you should run them 12 to 15 hours a day on that. So unless you're a huge night bird, you want to probably put it on a timer. It makes life a lot easier for you on that. And then picking the seeds, you know, plant something that you're going to use. You know, don't do this just as a science experiment. Plant what you're going to use. You know, I'm going to plant tomatoes. I'm going to plant peppers. I'm going to do whatever on that. And then when you get indoors, you know, the biggest thing, probably the biggest problem you're going to have is dampening off, which what that is the seedling comes up and then it rots right at the base. And that's usually a moisture thing on that, as in too much, and not necessarily that you're watering too much, but it's just there at the base of the plant too long. And that's why you want to take the dome off if you have a dome. Another way to help remedy that is to, you know, kind of like your outdoor plants. You're not going to do it quite as bad, but you water deeply and not a whole lot, not often. You know, you want to water good and deep, and then maybe I don't have to water again for 2 or 3 days, depending on what the soil is like. Also, another thing that will help is put a fan on them on that. Just put a fan on them. It does two things. It'll help dry out the top of that soil a little bit, but it'll also move the plants. You know, it's like outside, the wind's blowing. And these guys, you know, eventually they're going to go outside. So they got to be toughened up. And that's one way to help toughen them up. So you can, a couple different things it does. Now, watering, okay. When you first do it, you want to water them good. If you're going to put a dome over it, a good soaking. Now, most of your trays have holes in the bottom, and that's good, except remember that it has holes in the bottom when you go to water it. Okay. So that's good. But what you want to do with the dome is, remember, it's going to kind of recycle the water, kind of like a greenhouse or kind of like a terrarium on that. So more than likely, once you do it, a good one, you're done on that. And then what you can do is, if it needs it, you can water again. But then when it starts to come up, make sure you get the dome off of it. If you're not putting a dome on it, you want it kind of moist. And sometimes it's really hard with this light soil to water it and get the soil to stay, because how am I going to do this? Do a squirt bottle. Water it with a squirt bottle, because then it doesn't move the soil as much. And some of these seeds being so small, you can end up either burying them or moving them, and all of a sudden your line isn't I don't know where they're at anymore. Keep this in mind too, in that tag everything on that. When you put the seed down, put a tag there that says, you know, Jet Star tomato or whatever you have. And don't rely on that I'm going to say, okay, what I do everything is I put it in alphabetical order. I put an alphabetical order east to west. So then I know, or west to, you know, whatever works for you. I do west to east because that's how you read on that. If I'm doing north to south and I'm looking there, I go north to south, I go south to north. But I'll put them in alphabetical order. But then the thing is, remember this, you're going to take the sucker outside, and then it's like you moved it around. And I'm like, dang it, which arrow was it? You know, if you do 3 rows, you know the middle one, but you don't know the other 2. So, but tag them so you know. You can do sticks. You can do, a lot of times what I do is take a cottage cheese container lid and cut it and make it a thing and just put a Sharpie on it and then stick it in there. So there's different ways to do it. But tag it, or you'll be sad because you didn't tag it on that. So, but then the fan will be your good watering, okay? Then eventually, these are gonna, the idea is they're gonna come up, okay? If you put them in something like this, and it's time for it to grow to the next, or get to the next pot, you need to transplant. Okay, something like this isn't that bad because you're just going to put the pot and all, or put the plant and all in the pot. But if you have a small one, you can do these in like a Tupperware container, let's say, that has a hole in the bottom. Okay, now I've got all these growing in a row in this Tupperware container, and what do? When you transplant them, you don't want to transplant them until you get what's called the first true leaves. The first 2 leaves that come up are not going to be true leaves. They're going to be just the little, I get technical, but they're little cotyledons. So they're just what the plant used as a food source until it can make leaves. And now it's got leaves, and it's going to photosynthesize and do what plants do. But it's time to put it into a bigger pot. Don't grab it by the stem. Even though you think that you're being very careful, you can still crush it. Grab it by the leaf and then go underneath it. Just take a fork or a spoon or a tongue depressor, something, and underneath it, and then gradually put it lightly into the soil there so that you aren't hurting it. And then you can, and it's kind of like your house plants. You don't want to take a 4-inch house plant and put it in a 10-inch pot because it's too big. What happens is the soil around there gets wet, and it dries out, and it right around the plant dries out, and out here is soaking wet and doesn't like it. So you're going to move up little pots gradually. How much you need to transplant depends upon how long you keep it in the house. Remember that eventually these are going to go outside, so you're going to have to harden them off for transplanting. You know, the cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli is pretty easy. You get a nice day, you can take it outside, bring it back in at the night if it's really cold. It looks like, okay, we got, you know, let's say you had some started already. It's too early, but let's just say you did. You know, next week they're talking highs in the 50s all week. So you can take those outside. I can take them out, put them out, you know, let's just say, let's make it easy. Say you're retired. So I can put them out about 10 o'clock. I can bring them back out at 5 or bring them back inside at 5. So they're getting used to being outside. So gradually acclimate them to outside. The same thing with your tomatoes when the time comes. You get a nice day, put them outside. Put them outside in a shady spot to start with because they're not used to the sun. You know, you've had them on a light, but that's a different sun than being outside. So you're going to gradually get them used to that. And then pretty soon they're outside all the time. And then you can pop them in the ground. The best time to transplant would be a cloudy day or a period of time where you got some clouds. Because again, they're not used to the full sun. If you know, oh, I can only do it on this day and I can't do it any other time, that's fine. If it's a real sunny day, something as simple as a cardboard box, put on the south or southwest side of the plant. That gives it some shade in the afternoon so that it can slowly acclimate to the site on that. Again, try to do a cloudy day, try to do a day that isn't real windy. You know, now sometimes you don't have an option and that's okay, but just something sometimes that would set there. I mean, it could be as simple, like I say, a cardboard box. If the wind's blowing, you got a little wagon, set it there. You got a little wheelbarrow. You got a, you know, something, black nursery pot, something that won't blow away. That'll give it a little bit of protection as far as that goes on that. So now I haven't ever done this with a half hour, so I'm doing pretty good. I don't know if people have questions or not. I'm going to try and keep it towards a half hour, and then we can ask questions. So I got a few more minutes before my half hour's up. So probably, let's see, I don't know. I get people in that do seeds, but I don't know that necessarily that there is a major issue with them. Probably the biggest question, or I don't know if complaint's the right word, but I'll say complaint that people have, or problem, let's say, is the dampening off, is they have a tendency to damp off. Now, I also get a lot of people that are doing their own that they get leggy, they get real tall. That's a light thing on that. So try to get them a little bit more light. Give them space as they start to go. I don't do a lot. I do some every now and then. Most of the time, if I do something, it's tomato. And I'll just keep bumping that sucker up. I may have it, you know, by the time I plant it out in the garden, it may be 2.5 foot tall on that. I just keep putting in a bigger pot, because I am not one, I'm not going to go cover stuff. You know, it's got to deal off its own. So I don't plant until end of May, usually end of May, 1st of June. But I will take it and pull it inside if I only have 1 or 2. But I'm not going to go out and cover the suckers. So that's kind of how I do it. I keep going, keep getting a bigger and bigger pot on that. I did cabbage last year. I just didn't do it quick enough, but fortunately we had a mild fall, so I did get cabbage out of it. But, and that's, you know, do more than you think. And like I say, then you've got some, I can experiment. If you have a really, I don't know how I'm going to do, I'm a little nervous. Do some now, do some again in a couple weeks, do some in a couple weeks. You know, you may have some that are just the right time. You may have some early, some late, but then you've got some on that. On the seeds, put individual seeds. I mean, the packages of seeds aren't that expensive, but they're not that cheap anymore either on that. When you get a little seed, when you get the little seeds like these guys, you look at them and say, oh my God, those are really small. You know what? You're not planting 200 seeds. You're planting 10 or 12, maybe not even that many. So just take your time and put it in there. One way to do it, some of what the growers do is they take pencils and they'll lick the tip of the pencil, and then it picks up the seed, and then they can drop it into the pot. You can start several different plants in the same container if you want. Now you're going to find, what you're going to find is some things germinate a whole lot faster than others. Probably your slowest germinating plant that I can think of is going to be your peppers, because they like it really, really warm on that. Some of those that like it a little warmer are going to germinate faster on that. Some things you can direct seed, and you can also direct seed as in plant it in the garden. You don't have to start it, or you can do transplants. Spinach, lettuce, those are kales. Those are ones that you see a lot of people will plant plants of, but you can also plant them directly into the garden. So that gives you, you know, you have a little bit of time to experiment. If it doesn't work out, hey, I still have time to put something in there on that. Just realize it's going to take a little bit of time to get it up and going if you plant seeds into the garden. And that's not bad. It's neither here nor there, but that's kind of how it goes on that. So I don't know. Okay, now I've got, I guess I got a question here. And it says, any fertilizer, the seed starting mix includes some, but is there a point if you're repotting bigger and bigger that you need to add something? Yeah, I would do a little bit. I'm not a big fan of doing a lot of fertilizer, because you're trying to get the thing to grow, but you're not trying to get it to grow like you're producing seed. So if I used fertilizer, I would do a light mix, and I would probably do like the half and half. Half as often, half as much, as they say. We're just keeping it looking good, and then we'll put it outside. And then the question on, that's an excellent question. I should have covered it. Do seeds have shelf lives? Yes, they do. They're a live thing. There's a little bit of moisture in each seed. And when that moisture dries out, the seed's dead on that. So a couple things, okay? If you have some seeds, and you know, a lot of these have, you know, I mean, when you buy the seeds, they're going to tell you that 1 gram. That doesn't tell you diddly squat. But when you look inside, it's like, oh my God, there's a whole bunch of seeds in there. So use what you want. seal the rest up, put them in something, put them in a Ziploc, what do you call it, coffee container, something, stick it in the refrigerator, stick it in the freezer on that. You can keep seed for quite a while. Okay, I did that and I forgot that I had them. And now I don't know how old these are. Okay, well, one thing is on the back of the seed, it'll tell you. And Kansas is one of the states that they have a time frame. They have to sell the seeds within 1 year. This one says sell by 12/21. So that's actually left over from last year. So legally, we can't sell this anymore. Or if we sell it, we have to tell you that it's technically not viable seed, but it is. But okay, this has been sitting there and I looked at it and it says 18. Now, it's like, well, is it worth it me doing it? Take you a paper towel, put 10 seeds in it, moisten it, stick it in a Ziploc, stick it in a warm place, see what comes up. 3 of them come up, that means you have 30% germination. Do you want to mess with that? Or you could say 30%, I'll just put 3 seeds in each one. Now, what's going to happen is this is going to have 3 seeds and this is going to have none, but you'll have some seeds. Okay, if you don't want to do that, then you know, okay, well, that's okay. You know, if you get 8 or 10, it's like, oh, well, heck, their seed's still good. It'll be good for quite a while. One of the seeds they say is not very good about keeping is lettuce, although I've had pretty good luck keeping lettuce. So, but I do have times when I don't seem to do very well. The sooner you get that in the refrigerator, probably the better off. Don't leave it till the end of the season. When you're done, you know, even if you're going to put successive crops, like I'm going to grow lettuce. I'm going to grow some this week. I'm going to grow some next week. I'm going to grow some the week after so I can harvest it all along. Stick it in the refrigerator between rounds on that. So then it's in a spot where it can be the best you can keep it, and it'll still be viable, hopefully maybe even some next year for you on that. So let's see, somebody's really full of questions, it says. Is there a point where you stop using seed starting mix and use regular potting soil? And that's just once they're done. Once they start to sprout, and the first time you move them out, put them in the regular soil. And you want to use potting soil because the garden soil is going to be too heavy on that. It's like going out to the garden and grab something. It's just, it sets up like clay. Even though it's the best soil that you've got, it's going to set up. So use potting soil. And then when you go out to plant, you want to add some compost to your soil. Don't put your potting soil, put compost in. That's going to be better than regular potting soil when you're setting out. Okay, stratifying seeds. Okay, that's getting pretty technical. And stratifying seeds means that the seed is really thick and dense, and it's very hard for it to soften up enough that little root, the roots are what sprout first, and then the top. So the root hair has to be able to crack the seed. And sometimes it's super hard. And in Mother Nature, what does it is it may be going through the winter. It may be going through the digestive system of a critter. It may be some plants can't germinate. The seed won't germinate until it goes through a fire on that. So something has really busted up that seed so that it can sprout. Most of the vegetable plants that you will plant do not require any of that on that. So some of them are a little faster. I can tell you this, peas are one. If you ever done peas, you take peas and you pull them out or dump them out of the can, and they're all soft and full and plump. When you get pea seeds, it's wrinkled and shriveled, and it's like, oh gosh. Well, take those. I'm gonna plant these peas tomorrow. Take them tonight, put them in some water, and then go plant them the next day, and they'll come up a whole lot faster because already what they've done is swollen up and started the process on that. So that's a way to do, and actually you can do that with several things. Beans are another one. They're a big enough seed that's easy to do. To me, beans put them in the ground, and they'll be up in 3 days if you keep the water to them on that. So it's really not necessary. But peas are one that you could do that with on that. Okay, let's see. I think it was fennel. Oh, okay. They thought there was stratifying seeds. Okay. So I think that, I don't know, does anybody else, I'm the only way I know how to do questions is you better type them in because I don't know how to do it otherwise. But I don't know if anybody else has any questions on that. Do you have questions?
Did you get all the questions?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, wait a minute.
There's more things that start.
Okay. Oh, here's one I missed. Things that say start outside. Is it possible to start them inside earlier? It depends on what it is, okay? Example, the sunflowers, they don't have a very fibrous root system, so they don't hold together very well. And some things, your root crops generally are a good one. You're going to eat the root, and you're also you're trying to get it. You're trying to get a root system established, and you're going to eat it. Think of a carrot on that. You don't, and then think of I'm going to say it. Well, think of the pictures you see of trees. You know, you have the big canopy, and then you have all these roots. Well, on a carrot, your root is like this. And so when you pick it out of the ground or you pull it out, you're going to end up knocking a bunch of those little roots off. So they would be better just to direct seed. Now, you can plant tomatoes in the ground and the seed, but it takes so long for them to get up and get going. That's why you're ahead of yourself on that. So you can, and there's some things you can cheat, like the lettuce and spinach, that, okay, I can have some real early and I can't get it, you know, if I plant it with the seed, I got to wait 2 or 3 more weeks. So you get some benefit that way on that. So I think we're about running out of time.
We got a little more time.
Oh, we have a little more time. I think I've done those.
You got any fertilizer?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did the fertilizer.
That might
I
be,
think,
how
do you stratify prairie grass seed? Okay, now, I don't know 100%, but I would guess that because it's prairie, and you think about it, the seed ripens in the fall, and then it isn't going to sprout in the fall, so it's got to go through a cold period. So it's probably going to depend on what plant it is, but I would say the thing to do is put it in the cold, put it in the freezer. And how long, I don't know, because it's going to depend on what it is. I may have to do some research. If you let me know sometime what it is, I'll do some research and see if I can figure out how long it needs to stay in the freezer to do what you want it to do. On that. Okay. No, I already did.
Did you tell them?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to say a couple things. If you want a copy of the one with the seed thing, just send me an email and I'll get it to you. If the other two of the other guys that are on didn't get the handouts and you want the handouts, give me an email and we'll send them out. I just send them out in an email and you can print them off. This book is an excellent book. I love it. It is actually on the internet where you can get it. You know, you can just either look at it or you can print it off yourself. Now, the thing is, it's got like 76 pages. So we do sell it. That's what basically we sell it at cost. And I love it because this word right here, Kansas, I'm not talking about the KU, I'm talking about the state. And so what that does is it's for here on that. The good thing, there's even, this is what I love. Well, there's several things I love about it, but you know, when you get to this, it takes the state and it breaks it down by counties and says, this is early, this is late. So it's geared to here. And it's got that, and it also has like planting, composting, soil improvement, watering, fall gardens. It's got, and it takes each individual crop and it talks about varieties, when to plant, spacing, care, harvest. It gives you a bunch of stuff. So it's a really good book. You can get it if you do K-State Extension Publications. You can get it where you can either print it off or look at it if you want, or you can come in the store and go to the extension office and get one. So that's kind of our go-to guide. So I guess thank you for listening. I hope I recorded it for those who didn't get to listen to it the first time. And next week is Fertilizer 101. So we're going to talk about we'll talk about what all the numbers mean, what different types of fertilizer, and different ways to use them and that type of thing. So thanks a bunch. You guys have a great evening. And how do I turn it off?
Well, okay. Any last questions? No, that's it.
See
Thank
ya.
y'all.
Thanks.
Let's stop recording.